Independence is on the rise.
And fascism still on the move across the globe. Stay tuned to hear all about it.
Good evening, fine folks of the campaign. My name is Cliff Purvis, former British Army Corporal.
And my name's Russ, former British Army Warrant Officer. Welcome to episode 35 of the Recce Report. Welcome everyone.
Yes, welcome, Russ. Yeah, wow, what a we had our little show all planned out. We did that last night in our highly intensive planning meeting. And
then it all goes to pot as soon as we start talking.
Yes, yeah, it does that. And this time it's gone to pot for a very, very good reason. There's been a opinion poll released today, early hours of today, that shows support for Scottish independence when it's all taken away and the don't knows and all that is taken away has risen. And it is sitting at a wonderful 56%, I believe. Is it sitting at?
Yeah.
And that's fantastic, right? Because there's no campaign active at the moment. Yeah, there are people chipping away at the thing, but we're not really out in the streets. We're not leafleting to any great extent. And I think, personally, this is who we've always thought would carry the day are now thoroughly sick to death of the Westminster model. And that's our 16 to 30-year-olds, especially the 16-year-olds. Anyone that has is able to vote since 2014 has now seen the disaster of the no vote and has turned into the yes vote. It is now being perceived, I think, as the better option. And that is huge. That is an absolute huge thing. For the status quo to be broken like that is massive. And it's what we need if we stand any chance of winning at all. I know there's 41% that said they would never vote for it. Fine. Is that the 41% would never be able to convince? So let's not worry about that. Let's concentrate on keeping this vote where it is just now. Maybe we'll pick up some more. Maybe we'll get it into that 60%. But the powers that be in Scotland need to start hammering this on the mainstream media.
Yeah, it's good news, Cliff. It really is. We have the momentum. I don't think it'd be wrong to say that global developments have meant that maybe we need to have more say in the decisions that are made on our behalf. So yeah, independence on the rise. Thank you.
Yeah, I noticed today John Sweeney has turned around and said that Scotland needs to be more robust in the current climate, and they're bringing forward the budgeting, the prospective budget by a couple of months to take into account what's been the disaster politics that's spread out like a virus from Pennsylvania Avenue in Washington.
Mate, it's ridiculous. We spoke about this before. There's a prime opportunity for Starmer to show some backbone, to actually stand up and say, you know what, no, we won't be bullied. When Trump was issuing his decrees, his executive orders, much like Canada did, like Mexico did, like China did, whereas Starmer was like, oh no, we need to work together. No, you don't. You know what I mean? Trump's only in for another three and a half years, hopefully. Touch wood. We managed to so far managed to weather the worst of Brexit. I'm sure we could weather the worst of what the US has got to throw at us, especially if we have closer ties with Europe, which we should never have moved away from, in my opinion. But the opportunity is there. But Labour are still entrenched in this. We've got to respect the result of a referendum in 2016, which was only ever an advisory referendum anyway. And it's an incredible case of just self-harm, isn't it, on behalf of the UK? And Labour had a chance to stand up to be leaders in the field. But nah, Starmer just crumbled. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and if anybody was ever wanting an example of how stagnant and lost the Westminster system is, then they only need to look at what's happened under the Tory regime for those years, and then suddenly Labour came in promising great changes, swathes of changes. Yeah, the same, absolutely same.
Yeah, and the Labour spokesperson in Scotland, old Sarwar, was basically just parroting it, wasn't he?
Oh
Like,
yeah,
oh yeah, we can do business with Trump. I mean, no one can do business with Trump.
yeah. What's it said? No, we should be able to do business with Trump regardless of his politics. What?
You're like,
Right,
and
this appeasement didn't work in the 1930s. It's not going to work now. Trump is a bully.
he really is, and you're seeing it now. You've seen what happened where China just stood up to him and he caved because now there's no tariffs on circuit boards and all the stuff that iPhones are made of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Suddenly he's exempt tariffs.
Yeah. And yeah. Anyway, let's get back this side of the pond, buddy. Let's get back to this. Because Labour, what an absolute cluster they are. Yeah. The campaign they had running, by-election, council by-election, and they couldn't even spell the word Scottish correctly. Yeah, they missed the T out of it. Now, I believe that the leaflets were printed in Wales. That's what happens in the UK. You know, political parties print their leaflets with probably the best cost effect. It's not the printer's fault. Now, I've worked with printers before. We've done this. We've done a leaflet campaign, Russ. Yeah. And we proofread. You get an original to proofread. You do read through it. You sign off on that, and then they go to print. So some staffer within Scottish Labour with two T's, right, couldn't be bothered checking it over correctly. And, you know, it is the detail in the planning that makes the difference.
Honestly, mate. It reminds me, so here's a bit of a pull up a sandbag story. Many years ago, we just got back from Afghanistan. And RSM called me and he said, "Look, what do you think of this?" I said, "What is it?" He said, "I've commissioned this presentation piece. I can't remember who they were giving it to, and it basically says, presented to blah 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 on commemoration of our 6-month tour in Helmand province." And I said that, you know what, sir, that's absolutely brilliant, but you spelt province wrong. And he went, "What?" I said, "Yeah, it's not Provence, which is how you spelt it, it's province." And then he just went, "Rah, get out." Because you know that he proofread that himself.
Yes.
And as an infantry RSMs are infallible.
The regimental sergeant majors are not there to be pulled up. Yeah. So this just sets the standard for the branch office up here. They are. I thought the Tory party were poor up in the Scottish Parliament, but they're rapidly ceding that ground to the Labour branch office, and there's no such thing as Scottish Labour. It's the Labour Party in Scotland. Let's be honest about that.
And that's the thing, Labour won convincingly at the general election. They had a mandate to come in and be. Now, say what you want about Trump, right? But he came in on day one and he was like, "Right, burn the shit down."
Yeah. See those bridges? I'm going to nuke them
almost immediately.
Yeah.
Labour could have done similar, hopefully not to the extent of turning the state fascist, of course, but Labour could come in and say, "Right, we're going back in the EU. We're gonna get rid of the 2-child cap. We're gonna increase pensions, increase the minimum tax rate, all that sort of stuff."
Yeah.
They could have done that and they got away with it because they've got 4 years still to go in power, mate, for us to get over that. that was the time to do it. In that first 6 months, to go, right, here are the bold strategies.
Yeah.
No, they went back to business as usual. It was like they just rewound to 2010, just before they lost that election, and just carried on from there.
Yeah, they looked at the overdraft situation within the UK, courtesy of the Tory party. Some of those people are now lords, I believe. Sunak has announced his resignation handouts, and some of these people are now lords, which beggars belief. Yeah, here's a lifelong membership of an elite club for failing consistently at everything you've ever achieved. Attempted, sorry.
Yeah, so I think Wolf Pettis just nailed it there. He said they're too scared of votes going to Farage.
Yes.
Limited. I like the limited on the end.
Yeah, I like that.
And do you know what? I agree that that's what they're scared of, but I also disagree that they should be scared of that, because those votes are going to go to Farage whatsoever, whatever. You can't pander to that. That's what the Tories did. They pandered to the right to get these votes. And they got what, five MPs at the last election, down to 4 because one got kicked out.
Yeah.
Honestly, we're talking that they've just had their very first ever elected councillor.
Yes, yeah.
But even then, it was like a 21% turnout or something.
Yeah. Well, again, you can't knock that. Those that go out and vote, then don't vote. Don't think. Yeah, I've seen the photos of this guy with his. He's a veteran.
He's a veteran. He's a veteran. He's a former from a northern infantry battalion.
Right.
That narrows it down any. I mean, good luck to him. He got voted in, but I can't help but feel that he's been taken advantage of by reform.
Yes.
Because they've seen someone who's going to put on his regimental tie and blazer and beret and cap badge. And it's very much the token, much like we are, to be fair, for the independence cause. We're the token squaddies, aren't we?
Yeah.
And it's a shame. And I've seen an interview with him. He doesn't appear to be the sharpest tool in the box, mate.
Right.
That maybe he is. Maybe he's politically astute, but I don't get that impression.
Yeah. Right.
And the truth is, the vast majority of these right-wing parties, your UKIPs, your BNP, your Reform, they appeal to the less informed, to the people that don't have the knowledge and experience to read into things. It's the soundbite politics, isn't it?
Yes.
It's the simple solutions to complex problems, which is the soundbite, and you're like, but it's never that simple. People give you simple answers to hard problems, then they're either lying or they're insane.
Yeah. Sure, is this not a reminiscent of what happened in Germany in the 20s and 30s, 1920s, 1930s?
Well, it was. I mean, people laughed at old Adolf in the 20s and 30s, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they stopped laughing very early on in the 30s.
Yeah.
Because things happened. But he was initially, he was just a puppet of the right wing.
Yeah.
He was an angry young man who was very good at speaking, and they went, right, we'll use him. Of course, he then went and killed the people that were trying to use him. He's great mentors, but and then he came in, and then we all know what happened from there.
Yeah.
And nowadays we fast forward 80 years, and we've got people who are saying, "It wasn't that bad."
Yeah. Sorry, what history book have you failed to read?
Yeah. We will remember. Yeah, will you though?
Yeah. Well, that's it. That's another thing they latch onto, and we've seen this, and I think we've probably, as veterans ourselves, experienced from people we used to work with in uniform, because we are supporters of independence, that we are in some way tarnishing the name of veterans who have fought and died for freedom. Mm-hmm. Which, I'm sitting there thinking, isn't that a contradiction in terms? Because what I am after is independence for my country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just going to highlight Hash's comment here.
Yeah.
Which is, my hope is the reform takes sufficient list votes from both Tory and Labour to allow either Greens or Alba to take their seats. I get I get why you would say that, but I don't want any of them anywhere near Holyrood. No, they will just, yeah, they've made no significant contribution to Westminster or anywhere else they've been. I don't want them anywhere near Holyrood.
Yeah, unfortunately, I can see what's going to happen, though. The Tory vote will collapse completely. What do I know about politics? But the way I'm reading it just now, I think the Tory vote in the 2016, 2016, where have I been? 2026 election, which is only 388 days away, folks. We've got 388 days to square it away. Yes, I have a countdowner device on my phone, and it's ticking down. It's the only way I remember these things.
Yeah,
anyway,
got to do it, mate. I think at the minute, and I'd like us to have a solid message. I don't want it to be. I don't want people to vote SNP just because Labour have crumbled and there's no viable alternative. I want us to have a strong message. A strong vision, and I hate to say this, but a roadmap to say this is what we're going to do, because I get that it's all about having that Section 30 order, but the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, and expecting different results. And the truth is, we can't have a repeat of just being continuously told no. There's going to be an alternative.
Yes.
But yeah,
we have been saying this for well over a year now, Russ, that we need someone in the independence campaign to stand up and be that dynamic leader, that person that is going to turn around and say, right, this is how we're going to do it, X, Y, and Z, right? Every single part of the independence campaign needs to get behind that message, and then we need to get out on the streets, leafleting, talking to people, doing our marches, and getting that message across. We have to push forward with this percentage of support for independence. We have to maintain it. It will never get reported in the mainstream media. We know that because they clamp down on these stories.
It is. Right.
They're quite happy to talk about what's been going on with the SNP former SNP hierarchy and
but it does. It gets sidetracked, mate. That's what they did last time. They focus on the trivia. Oh, Scotland can have a currency. Scotland won't have an army. Yeah. You're like, well, that's not your issue. The problem is we can sort all this out after independence.
Yes.
There is no country that has gained independence from the UK that has come crawling back.
No.
Right? And if you believe that uniquely out of every country in the world that Scotland is the only one that can't be independent, then what are you even doing here?
Yes.
Right? Yeah. And you need to stop getting bogged down in the sidebars, which is what happened. It becomes a thing that they magnify all the stuff. The gender recognition bill, which was a minor thing that was voted by all parties initially, then became a political hot potato, and it's now launched all these, well-funded protest groups, essentially, I believe, funded by the right wing in America.
Yes, they are.
And the thing that gets me, it's like they've come right around and they've met the right wing. And it's like, I disagree with everything the right wing has to say, apart from this one very specific thing that they agree with me on.
Yes.
But that's coincidence. That's not because my thinking is right wing in any way on that.
Yeah. Wolfpet has obviously seen our agenda for tonight.
Yeah.
Scotland won't have a refinery, will be their next thing. You are a mind reader, you really are.
Look, there is an agenda, we promise. It doesn't look that way, but sometimes there is.
Yes, we do write things down. Yeah, they have. Sorry, if you side with the right wing on one thing, then you go and side with it. You got to be saying that you're a right winger. Yeah,
honestly.
Yeah, you cannot cherry pick. What we do in Scotland after independence will be up to the Scottish voters. Yeah. Just stop with the bickering, stop with the backstabbing, stop with the fantastically complex systems. Right. Yeah. All we need to do is get a majority vote But there has to be, as you quite rightly said, Russ, there has to be, right, if we get a majority vote here, this is what we're going to do here. And yeah.
And I think it's remembering that the SNP are the only party that are campaigning to end their own existence.
Yes. Yeah.
Because once we have independence, there's no need for an independence party.
Yeah.
And then we decide what kind of politicians you want in the country.
Yeah.
That's the be all and end all of it.
Yep.
It really is.
Yeah. Let's buy the house first before we start picking the curtains.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's I said, about the kind of the right wing agree with me. It's the old saying that I saying, if you have one Nazi sat at a table and 11 people join them, then you have 12 Nazis.
Yes. Yeah, I love that. I'm going to start using that. I'm going to pinch that. I'm going to plagiarize that. Right. Okay. We'll sitting there. We've got to appease them with this one. Right, Ross. This is your one.
Yeah. So it's the whole thing about Grangemouth. Well, that wasn't about Grangemouth because Grangemouth was decided 3 years ago that it was going to close. But about the bailout of British Steel and Scunthorpe.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm happy for the people of Scunthorpe. I used to serve in a little village outside Scunthorpe, so I like Scunthorpe. It's a very old steel town. It looks like a steel town.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in the shadow of Ravenscraig, so I've got a soft spot in my. So I've got nothing against the people of Scunthorpe, and they're still getting this bailout. But why the change? 3 years ago it was Grangemouth's a private company. We can't do anything about it, and suddenly it's like, yes, Scunthorpe's a private company, but we got to save British Steel and throw all this money at it. It's the hypocrisy, Mike. Scotland is is the major oil producing location in the UK, and now we have no refineries. That's just setting you up to fail.
Yeah,
it really is.
Yeah, I can't help but feel, Russ, that this is another case of because of that geographical border that sits between us and England, that Scunthorpe being south of it, then that will get the attention.
Yeah.
With everything north of that geographical border, and there is a border, despite what certain unionists try to make out. And there is most definitely a border.
Oh, there's a recognised border.
Yeah.
There's various things that are different. We have Scots law for one.
Mm-hmm.
We have different rules on marriage and divorce, and various other things. We have different laws. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but so I can't go into detail on all of them. But there's two distinct legal systems at play.
Yes.
So the border is important for that respect.
Yeah.
Scotch whisky is a geographical indicator.
Yeah.
You can't distill Scotch whisky in Peck Windsor, or Essex. It's got to be from Scotland, particular parts of Scotland. So the border's there for a reason.
Yeah.
But they don't want it. There's these one island or these islands.
Yeah.
That went
it was interesting that character that got elected into the council down in England from the Reform lunatics. He said, "Let's make Britain great again." Great Britain is a geographical location. It's not political. It distinguishes the big island, from the rest of the place. Yeah. What are you going to do? Sort of.
It's like the grief I used to get, mate, when I pointed out to people in Northern Ireland that they weren't actually British. They were like, "We are." No, what does your passport say? So the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland.
Yeah.
So you're UK, but you're not British. And I'm sorry, but the pedants have to win this one.
Yeah. So we've got to start pushing forward, folks. Now, we've seen what was happening, the interference that's happening from Musk within UK politics. And that's only going to grow. Never mind what Putin's trying to do, which probably Putin's doing through Pennsylvania Avenue anyway. So it might be just the same guy pulling the strings through a different different approach road. So we've had Musk absolutely rip into Farage about how he's not a good enough leader, and he doesn't have the backbone and the spine for this, and it should be 3 names, and they're him that's currently in jail, but as the protection is hurting them. Oh dear. Well, if you don't break the law, you don't go to jail. Yeah, it's simple. Yeah. So Farage has now come out and said, Musk was only winding me up, he was geeing me up to improve things. No, he wasn't. He was ripping into you. And the fact that you're now groveling back to him just shows you where your loyalty is. And how often does he actually bother to attend his constituents?
I think he's not. I don't think they know who he is, mate. Going to Clacton. Yeah, it's interesting that trying to rewrite the narrative for our boy, Yaxley Lennon, that he's some kind of political prisoner. They're trying to do the same for that. The woman that got banged up for inciting hatred.
Yeah.
Oh no, she shouldn't have been for saying hurty words. No, she pled guilty, and it was clearly hate speech.
Yeah.
I'm not a free speech absolutist, mate. I believe in free speech, but actions have consequences.
Yes,
you're free to say what you want, but you're also free to deal with the consequences of saying what you want.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Freedom of speech doesn't mean you can lay into people from your bigoted, twisted angle in life. That's not what freedom of speech is about. No. But if you do it, then, as you quite rightly say, then you take on the consequences of those actions.
And you have a right to speak, but you don't have a right to have people listen.
Yeah. Now, me and you have stood in front of a microphone more times than we probably both care to remember. And we've always watched what we've said, how we've worded things, because we are an inclusive campaign. Yeah, we're covering right across. I know we've got our idiots in the independence campaign. You got that one that keeps shouting English out and all that stuff. I'd like to see him try and remove me as I'm half English. That could be an interesting conversation. But
either, mate, yeah.
Yeah. So, we are watching what we say. And that's what I think is the essence of freedom of speech. Yes, you can say what's on your mind, but you've also got to remember we're living with other people here, and they've got equal right to say things. And it's when other people who probably don't look the same, wear the same clothing, pray to the same God or whatever, start saying their stuff. Suddenly that's a takeover move. It's not freedom of speech, it's a takeover move. So there is nothing but twisted bigotry and hatred in the far right at the moment. And we've got to be very wary of that. History has taught us time after time, if we don't have our defences up, that will seep in and it will corrode and will do huge amounts of damage.
Definitely, mate. I follow the golden rule as espoused by Star Trek actor Will Wheaton, who basically says it just boils down to don't be a dick.
Yes, I like that. Russ, have you noticed the time?
I have, mate. We're rapidly running out of minutes.
We are. So let's go over to the comments side of things. And I'm pointing that way, folks, because that's where my comments line up is on this. I don't know how it works. Russ does all that stuff.
Yeah. So, get your questions in quick before we wrap up.
Right.
So we got #% John Swinney repeated his call for Grangemouth to be brought into public ownership at his press conference.
Yeah,
I love it, but unfortunately, energy policy is reserved to Westminster.
Yeah.
So it's a good call. If only we had the levers by which to do this.
Yeah. How did we get that again? Oh yeah, independence.
Yeah. Ashby's also saying that he also called for the decision to finance the Acorn carbon capture and storage project. That's easy for you to say. I'd state the civil in Edinburgh. But it's gone back to what we said. Labour had a chance to make bold decisions to bring the country together. And I think, going back in the EU would have been the first step as soon as they got in.
Yeah.
Right, we're going to do this. And especially in light of Trump's ramblings, it makes so much sense.
Yeah.
You look at now, they're pulling together, they've got defence collaboration, all that sort of stuff. And we we sold out the little Englanders that wanted to be Fortress Britain.
Mm.
We're not Fortress Britain, mate.
It's
You know what I mean?
lapdog.
Yeah, we're not even fucking Cobb Britain,
No,
are we?
no. It's a sad state, buddy. It's a sad state.
We are
Right, Russ.
forgotten Legion Outpost Britain is what we are, mate, isn't it?
Yeah.
But
Right.
yes, we are. We are at that time.
Because Kevin will throw another spanner at us if we do this too often.
Definitely. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Always a pleasure. Thank you for listening to our Inane Waffle for another month. We shall see you again on the second Monday of the month next month. I'm not going to look at my calendar. I don't know what date that is. Find it out for yourself. You're all grown-ups.
Oh, how the heck am I supposed to top that sign off? Ladies and gentlemen, thanks very much for watching and listening to myself and Russ. As always, it's an incredible pleasure chatting away to you guys, chatting to Russ himself. He's a character, as you can tell. Remember, our future is bright. Independence is right.
Sure, Alba. Take care, everyone.
Catch you later, guys.